Group. John, go ahead.
Mr. Co-Chairman, committee members. My name is John Orlovich. I've lived in Boise most of my life and was educated in the Boise School District. I'm currently a consulting engineer here in Boise and have a child enrolled in the Boise School District, and I come to you as a parent. I'm here to speak against the proposed legislation that affects the teacher's ability to fairly negotiate their contract for the following reasons. 1. The governor in his State of the State address asked the legislature to refrain from taking up education reform issues until the 2014 legislature. He made this request in order for his task force to have time to frame the significant issues with education reform and then have the time to be able to propose consensus solutions. By the legislature taking up this matter in advance of the time requested by the governor, I believe it is acting to the detriment of the task force. In my opinion, this action will have the effect of rendering the task force ineffective, as now task force members will have to be in conflict with each other to support or counter this legislation. This is exactly why the governor asked for the one-year moratorium on legislative action. I believe this task force to be imperative to the success of the education reform, as it is bringing together all the key education stakeholders in order to address these important issues. I urge your committees to not pursue these bills at this time and allow the task force to do their job without the distractions of having to lobby the legislature at the same time. 2. These bills go directly against the vote of the citizens of Idaho. I believe our voice was loud and clear when we directed the state to turn back Propositions 1, 2, and 3. I believe it is disrespectful of the populace to go against our sound judgment. We live in a democracy that allows for the rule of one person, one vote, and the majority gets to decide. I believe that this principle is sacrosanct and that I and others will not forget it when the time comes to decide our state leadership during the next election cycle. 3. These bills will devastate the morale of our teachers, especially those who work in schools with special populations. Our school teachers work extremely hard at giving our children the best educations possible. I believe teachers should be given a fair and livable wage commensurate with their experience. As teachers do not have the right to individually negotiate their pay, it is up to their common voice, their union, to do that for them. These bills would cut the legs off the teacher's ability to fairly negotiate. If passed, and if the district school board elects to stall contract negotiations, then that district would then get to unilaterally set the pay in terms of the contract. I ask you, how can that be fair? Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next, Ryan Kirby. Thank you. Yeah.
Chairman DeMordant, Chairman Getty, and members of the Education Committee. My name is Ryan Kirby. I'm the superintendent in New Plymouth. I've been there 19 years as superintendent. And lift a little higher. Okay. Our school district has about 57% free and reduced, and about 20% of the adults in Payette County have advanced degrees, or have a degree past high school, post-secondary. I'd like to talk about the $33.9 million for fiscal year 14 that the governor and the State Department both put in their budgets for reform. I'd like to see that $33.9 million kept in teacher compensation. If we don't, then we'll spend less in FY14 than we did in FY13 on teacher compensation. I'd like to see that money used so that we can improve the state's performance on college-going rates, our retention rates, which are extremely low, as you know, and with the implementation of the Common Core. I'd like to see the legislature appropriate the $33.9 million to teacher compensation and send the money to the districts, more or less in block grants, to dispense according to their local plans which have been approved by the state. They might use the money for leadership, professional development, or locally determined performance pay. I'd like to just mention a couple positive things that I've seen from performance pay, one statewide and one in our district. You probably know what end-of-course assessments are. Districts that have them use them to make sure that the standards are being thoroughly taught and implemented in districts, and they can determine the degree to which the students have learned the standards. Between 1999, when Boise started doing EOCs, and 2010, We had 15 districts start using end-of-course assessments, mostly larger schools, Meridian, Twin, Pocatello, Coeur d'Alene, etc., and a smattering of smaller districts. The first year of performance pay in 2010, 60 additional districts started using end-of-course assessments. So I think it's a fairly large impact. New Plymouth, we've used performance pay, I think is well known for IRI, ISAT, dual credit. We have our 135 juniors and seniors taking 1,000 dual credits this year. 81% of them are taking dual credits. And last year, 61% of our grads went to college, and we have an 89% retention rate, well above the state average. Actually higher than any state in the nation. So our teachers have helped develop those goals, but I think if we improve IRI, ISAT, dual credit, we can improve some very nice things for Idaho. At least 30% of this money could be used for professional development, which a lot of school districts would then use to purchase 2 days of professional development that we've kind of largely lost due to furlough days. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ryan. Ron.
Chairman DeMordaunt, Purdue is tough too, I want you to know. And Chairman Getty and honorable members of the committee, my name is Ron Purdue. I'm from Idaho Falls and the superintendent in the Ryrie School District. We have 685 students in our district with about 81 support staff. Many of the items or points that I wanted to bring up have already been expressed, so I would just share the following with you. For the first time since the district began in 1932, the Ryrie School District has to look at trying to pass a supplemental levy to just take care of our operational costs. We are asking patrons to consider $385,000 for the next 2 years to accomplish this. We would ask the legislators to really look at establishing funding stability in the districts. And we appreciate the effort that has been done up to this point, and especially the current year that we're in. We thank you for keeping things the same this year. 3 years ago, we had to make a very difficult decision in closing one of our buildings and combining our pre-K students through 4th grade into our other 2 buildings. This was not a popular decision, but the board made this decision, and it has turned out to be a very positive one. We encourage you as our legislators to make some hard decisions. I read an interview with questions and answers provided by one of you that Idaho must define adequate and thorough to fund education. Please make the tough decisions to provide adequate and thorough funding for all students and educators. I know that when the suggestions of raising sales tax or mentioning anything about taxes is quickly addressed is not a chance. Please be proactive, as all districts have to, and Ryrie has to consider trying to pass a first-time supplemental levy this year in order to make it through the next couple of years. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Ron. Next, Gloria.
Chairman DeMordaunt, Co-Chair Getty, and members of the House and Senate Education Committees, thank you for your consideration. I'm Dr. Gloria Totorica Guena, a product of Boise Public Schools, an educator for 25 years in the Boise Public Schools at Boise State University. I directed a research center at the University of Nevada and visiting professor and scholar at Stanford University. I speak on behalf of iSchool Campus, thank you, and our pilot project at Paul Elementary in the Minidoka School District, and with 25 years of experience in the classroom, in administration, and conducting field work and research. I ask the committees to consider the importance of funding for pilot projects for technology and education innovation. The rationale is critical yet simple: to test ideas, platforms, professional development, and smart school technology services while they are small and malleable. We can reduce the risk of propagating mistakes by detecting errors at the pilot stage and not after blanket expenditures when it's too late, more expensive, and often disruptive. State funding availability for grants to districts allow districts to formulate pilot programs to test those assumptions for student achievement needs particular to their own local student populations, as well as technical education and regional economic development. Pilot projects are incubators for local strategies and test specific plans for improvement. Pilot projects foster choice in testing teaching methods, in testing student collaboration, and implementation of Common Core standards and objectives. A pilot model encourages innovation and constant tweaking for improvement. Pilot projects create what we call opportunity structures for initiatives and for motivation, and both lead to transformative learning. The empirical link between school leadership and improved student achievement calls for authority at local district levels for teachers and administrators creating relevant programs and projects funded by the state of Idaho and testing grants before full operations and full-scale deployments. I ask for your recommendations to the JFAC include funding for the already existing Idaho Educational Technology Initiative to add specific language for pilot projects. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Gloria. Well, John is coming to the mic. Let me call the next group. We have Alan Millar, Deb Foster, Erica Kemery, and Renee McKenzie. That'll be the next group. John?
Chairman DeMordaunt, Chairman Getty, and members of the Idaho Senate and House Education Committees. My name is John McCrosty, and I am a first-year law student at Concordia Law School, and I've taught music in Idaho Public Schools for the last 10 years, including the cities of Gooding, Mountain Home, and here in the city of Boise. In today's listening session, I hope to provide you with some ideas on approaching the education educational bills crossing your paths in the coming months. First, I would like to address the 7 Idaho School Boards Association bills that, as of Sunday, February 10th, had been pulled for rewrites. Upon reviewing the bills, I found that around 90% of the bill's content was taken straight out of SB 11. Teachers who regularly give their students supplies ranging from pencils and tissues to lunches and money to participate in school field trips. As you promote education bills out of your committee, I ask you to consider the following 2 questions. 1, is the bill good for Idaho students? And 2, is this bill good for Idaho teachers? If you can answer yes to both questions, then I submit the bill is worthy of consideration. Finally, I would like to share with you briefly one of the most important lessons that I've learned at my first semester of law school at Concordia: equality. The Declaration of Independence reminds us that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, but among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Idaho's obligation to assure equality of opportunity begins with providing Idaho's young people with an education. Brown versus the Board of Education describes the government's obligation to provide education as a basic public responsibility and the most basic and important function of state and local government. Brown finds that education awakens cultural values, prepares for professional training, teaches good citizenship, and helps young people adjust to their environment. It is incumbent upon Idaho's state government to provide equality of opportunity to Idaho's youth through education. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Coming to the mic, is Renee here? Apparently not. Okay. Then Dallas Klinger. And then we have Eric, I think maybe this is a duplicate. Erica Kemery we just heard from. Gail Chumbley we've heard from. Jerry Hegelson. So Dallas, is Dallas here? Okay. Dallas was here. And so Jerry? Dallas, we'll have you following Jerry here, all right? And then after Dallas, well, let's go to that point. Go ahead. This is Jerry Heggleston, right there at the bottom.
Chairman DeMordaunt, Chairman Getty, members of the Education Committees. My name is Jerry Helgeson. I'm a retired educator of 41 years in Idaho classrooms. and 33 years as adjunct faculty member at Boise State University. 5 decades ago, President Kennedy challenged America to land men on the moon and return them safely to the earth. Today, America's education system is constantly being compared to systems of other countries, and we fall well down the scale in those surveys. Why? Is it because we are not comparing the same level of students? Is it because schooling is not rigorous enough? Is it because our students do not attend schools enough days in the year? Does our curriculum need to be altered? One example of what we face. Several years ago, I taught an immigrant student from Bosnia in an upper-level mathematics class. She told the class one day that her Bosnian school schedule had 14 subjects every day, including 3 languages. They also had physics, chemistry, biology every day and every year. They went to school 10.5 months of the year. They also were required to attend school for review on a Saturday if they had exams the following week. There is a sign along the fence around the Simplot Jump project a few blocks from here that reads, "Together, change happens." Together we can improve the education atmosphere of Idaho. President Kennedy challenged America. I urge your 2 committees, the Governor's Task Force, the Albertsons Foundation, and others interested in change to do the right thing. The astronauts succeeded with the right stuff. Can Idaho do the same? I look to a future day when Idahoans will hear from the bodies in front of me. In a slight twist of President Kennedy's words of 50 years ago, we chose to become a leader in education change, not because it is easy, but because it is hard. Members of the committee, from a proud lifetime member of the Idaho Education Association, I thank you.
Thank you very much.